Hey, it's Marina from Jungle here. I'm just trying to adjust my hair. I had a terrible haircut and I don't know what's going on with it, but I got to try to fix it this weekend. Anyway, welcome to the Workplace Edit series where through Jungle and myself, we do three things. One, we tell you a little story, a real life business situation that, we sort of like pump it up a bit so it's got a bit of gossip in it. But hopefully, some of the insight will validate experiences that you may be having or observations that you're having, which allows us to go to number two, an analysis through the eyes of a re-engineer of what is really going on, follow it up with three, what you can do about it, either for yourself or for your business going forward. So it's a really simple process. The whole energy behind it is to validate some of the stuff that's going on. But in this episode is to start generating hopefully a conversation around some very serious things that are going on within the Australian business community that really need to get called out. So, all right, first of all, let's start with the gossip and the tea and what's been going on. So, for better, for worse, mainly for worse, I have had a lot to do with two government agencies over the last, I don't know, shall we say, and I'm not going to say the agency's name because, quite frankly, both of them are abusing their power at the moment, which is sort of weird to watch. But I'll just say one of them has a three-letter acronym associated with it. You can leave it, I'll just leave it right there. But what's been going on is that there has been critical information that needs to be supplied to this agency at their behest. And the information is very legal in nature. So it has things like an affidavit and then a corresponding appendice with evidence, etc. Now, the articles of evidence they're north of 200 articles, so it's quite complicated. So normal process when you're updating those information is to provide an index and then be able to allow people to cross-reference it, etc. It's a legal process, right? It's annoying, feels like it's archaic, but jeepers, you gotta do it, all right? Otherwise, you don't get through the gate. For those of you who've been in legal situations, you know what I'm talking about. The other adjunct to the other department is some decisions that are being made for actually a friend of mine. So I'm just helping them out. And it's a similar thing. It's the transaction between data and information goes through a business process and an assessment, then pops out the other side. So it's quite binary in that sense, that's like ins, outs, zeros and ones, what have you. That's what you would think, right? Nay, nay, my friends, nay, nay. So with the benefit, I don't know if you call it benefit, but the experience of being up close and personal to both of these government agencies, I am not exaggerating when I say I am utterly horrified at the poor quality of processes, systems, people's training, and dispute resolution. And I'm not talking about disputing over numbers. I mean conflict management when someone's getting frustrated on the phone. So let's just knock these ones off. Processes. Processes in these large organisations are no different to large corporate organisations, that when things aren't cared for, they become disjointed and they start to send all these sort of weird signalling to different stakeholder groups. So one person will interpret a procedure or process on how it's done like this, another person will do it that way. And it's at the core of it indicates an incredibly poorly run organisation as a coherent whole. And you know who's picking up the pain on it? When there's a power imbalance, it's the people who need to deal with that agency on it. Second thing, terrible systems. Wow. Just because I really shouldn't swear, but wow. Portals that are always up for maintenance. Uploading thresholds that prevent the actual execution of proper documentation to be translated. So that actual process that they're trying to dominate can't be done because they don't provide the necessary systems and tools with it. And the amount and the indifference of these government workers towards this indicates number three. This is no judgment. I actually feel for a lot of these people that you're dealing with. And we have that sort of cognitive secretive dissonance that goes on that says, it's not you. I understand it's a bigger problem. Have you ever done that? Yeah, it's that type of shit going on. But what's happened as a re-engineer and observing these agents, these people, is that they are so disempowered. They are rightfully disempowered and they are now hamsters in a wheel trying to navigate broken processes with an increasingly complicated and frustrated stakeholder group, and these poor humans are now going into full defense mode. So they retreat, they hang up on people. I was dealing on behalf of my mate with this group today, and the information that was being presented was actually wrong. Like, it was just wrong, and very politely said, respectfully, and I even used the word respectfully, that's incorrect. Back on this date. Anyway, the agent, who'd obviously just been beaten up by so many people calling in, threatened to hang up, not because of tone or anything like that, because she didn't like what was being said in the content, and actually being confronted with the fact that she was wrong. And eventually she just hung up. There was nothing abusive. There was nothing going on. It was a total power flex. Now, apart from the fact that it did actually irritate me because the wait time was, wait for it, 55 minutes. The thing that, I guess from an observation point of view, is that for any human to have been beaten up that much and to have presented such a power flex, number one, but to be confident in how broken everything is, that they would behave like that, I think is so telling of how broken these government agencies are, and how the training is now, susceptible to broken processes, shitty IT systems. The incoherence and the confusion must be causing so much anxiety for staff. But the answer is to not go, here, staff, hang up on people. The answer is to fix the processes in the IT systems so people can go to work and they can use their noggin and help people and actually have a good day at work. All right. So this is an epidemic. And let's go into part 3. How do we fix it? What can you do? All right, so I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to fix it. If you find yourself in one of these incomprehensible moments with government services, and you're interacting and you're looking at it going, oh my God, this part of the government is just broken, like it's broken, and you're just looking at it from the outside in. Number 1, acknowledge it, right? It's broken. Do not waste your time, money, heart, and energy getting judgy on whether it is broken or why it shouldn't be broken. Just calmly accept it is broken. Now, the reason I tell you that is that you're going to need your energy for part 2. So part 2 is you're looking at, I've had 3. I had another one a while ago where their portal broke in the midst of putting evidence up again. And then we tried to email it. This guy said, the IT department aren't taking any more help desk requests. They're overwhelmed. So it's all just going to stay broken. Anyway, my brain was like, what the frig is going on with these departments, right? Anyway, so 1, you go, it's broken. It is not fit for purpose. It is not delivering the service that it's supposed to do. And all that charter and all that other stuff is not consistent with the daily experience of either how the staff are going through it, or as a stakeholder or, a user, shall we say, not a customer, a user of the system would expect. Because number 2 is where you have to document. All right. Now, with the advent of AI, you can document quite well. For me, I have now taken to going through and creating a whole project in ChatGPT to keep a record of dates and times. And I've set my project settings up to make sure that everything is cross-checked on it. So it's more than just saving emails now. What you have to do is keep a timeline, because in some ways you have to advocate for yourself, because you've got to keep a track of all this stuff, because you can't rely on confirmation emails to come through. I had one document, it took 11 months for a government department to respond to. That's right, 11 months. Wild. So you got to look after yourself, and then use that energy that you're no longer wasting on going, this is outrageous, and you put it straight over into this sort of indexing, this chronology that you just need to keep calmly and, as much as you can. The third thing, now this is not a Karen thing. It's not a Karen thing. It's, although I find it a fascinating observation of humanity that people who complain now are characterized. Systems are really broken. Like, privacy's getting breached. Forms don't work. People are unreliable. Someone's got to speak up. So what I do is that I actually lodge complaints or feedback or whatever the mechanism is, and I stick it into that time frame. And I use it as a part of the story that I'm horrified at how many times I have to go back and rely on it because these systems are so broken. But it shows that I'm in, we're going through this process, parts aren't working, I'm shining a light on it, but I've also given you feedback on to the government agency on how your broken processes, systems and poor training have interrupted the very process that you're trying to enforce or regulate or whatever it is onto the public, that disconnect on it. So when I'm doing these complaints, I just do it very calmly, but I make sure there's dates on there. I don't do the feeling thing. And I'll just highlight, on this day this was said, here are the 2 inconsistent items of it. I would like this recorded if you have a CRM system. And you leave it at that type of thing. And then you keep a reference of it. Now, this might sound like a massive overhead because it is. We are now all dealing with so many broken processes, systems that don't work, and expected to be cheerful throughout the process. It's completely anxiety creating. And I am an advocate for, women who are experiencing DV. And I remember about 3, 4 months, probably more than 6 months ago, I sat in on someone applying again for some assistance as they fled a situation. And this poor woman, her anxiety was, it was already probably dialed up, it's fair enough. But the brutality of the service offering, extended by the government was horrifying. This poor woman was just shot, I reckon, for a couple of days, mentally, and in this hypocritical era of psychological safety where these systems and processes and poor training are creating micro injuries on users of government services, I think someone needs to be talking about it, this part of it, without being all whingy and childish about it. So that's today's workplace edit. I will probably get audited or, when the bus comes or whatever, but I think it is so important for all parties that we start talking about how broken these systems are. And we don't pretend we can point to some amazing charter and go, that's what we do, when in reality, that is not what the experience is. Okay, that's it. We might do a couple of these because I actually feel a bit fiery about this. I've got to do something with his hair. His hair is just terrible. And frankly, we're busy at work at the moment. My guys are, not so much me. But I got 10 hours sleep and it doesn't look like it, particularly with this awful haircut. Okay, all right. Chill out, chin up. Good luck.